Burima, I haven't forgotten. We will bring you back a sheep's hair blanket made in the mountains, Mrs. Dalal said through the open window of the taxi. She was holding a leather purse in her lap which matched the turquoise border of her sari. We will bring two, cried Mrs. Dalal, who was sitting beside his wife, checking his pockets to make sure his wallet was in place. Of all the people who lived in that particular flat building, Burima was the only one who stood by the collapsible gate and wished them a safe journey. As soon as the Dalals were gone, the other wives began planning renovations of their own. One decided to barter a stack of her wedding bracelets and commissioned a whitewasher to freshen the walls of the stairwell. Another pawned her sewing machine and summoned an exterminator. A third went to the silversmith and sold back a set of pudding bowls she intended to have the shutters painted yellow. Workers began to occupy this particular flat building night and day. To avoid the traffic, Burima took to sleeping on the rooftop. So many people passed in and out of the collapsible gate, so many others clogged the alley at all times that there was no point in keeping track of them. After a few days, Burima moved her baskets and a cooking bucket to the rooftop as well. There was no need to use the basin downstairs, for she could just as easily wash, as she always had, from the cistern tap. She still planned to polish the baluster poles with the strips that she had torn from her quilts. She continued to sleep on her newspapers. More rains came. Below the dripping awning, a newspaper pressed over her head, Burima squatted and watched the monsoon ants as they marched along the clothesline, carrying eggs in their mouths. Damper winds soothed her back. Her newspapers were running low. Her mornings were long, her afternoons longer. She could not remember her last glass of tea. Thinking neither of her hardships nor of earlier times, she wondered when the Dalals would return with a new bedding. She grew restless on the roof, and so, for some exercise, Burima started circling the neighborhood in the afternoons, reed broom in hand, sari smeared with newspaper ink. She wandered through markets and began spending her life savings on small treats. Today, a packet of puffed rice, tomorrow, some cashews, the day after that, a cup of sugarcane juice. One day, she walked as far as the bookstalls on College Street. The next day, she walked even further to the produce markets in Bao Bazaar. It was there, while she was standing in a shopping arcade serving jackfruits and persimmons, that she felt someone tugging on the free end of her sari. When she looked, the rest of her life savings and her skeleton keys were gone. The residents were waiting for Burima when she returned that afternoon at the collapsible gate. Baleful cries rang up and down the stairwell, all echoing the same news. The basin on the stair wall had been stolen. There was a big hole in the recently whitewashed wall, and a tangle of rubber tubes and pipes was sticking out of it. Chunks of plaster littered the landing. Burima gripped her reed broom and said nothing. In the haste, the residents practically carried Burima up to the stairs of the roof, where they planted her on one side of the clothesline and started screaming at her from the other. This is all her doing, one of them hollered, pointing at Burima. She informed the robbers. Where was she when she was supposed to guard the gate? For days she has been wandering the streets, speaking to strangers, another reported. We shared our coal, gave her a place to sleep. How could she betray us this way? A third wanted to know. Though none of them spoke directly to Burima, she replied, believe me, I did not inform the robbers. For years we have put up with your lies, they retorted. You expect us now to believe you? Their recriminations persisted. How would they explain it to the Dalals? Eventually, they sought the advice of Mrs. Chatterjee. They found him sitting on his balcony watching a traffic jam. One of the second floor residents said, Burima has endangered the security of this building. We have valuables. The widow, Mrs. Mishra, lives alone with her phone. What should we do? Mr. Chatterjee considered the arguments. As he thought things over, he adjusted the shawl that was wrapped around the shoulders and gazed at the bamboo scaffolding that now surrounded his balcony. The shutters behind him, colorless for as long as he could remember, had been painted yellow. Finally, he said, Burima's mouth is full of ashes, but that is nothing new. What is new is the face of this building. What a building like this needs is a real Darwan. So the residents tossed her buckets and racks, her baskets and reed broom down the stairwell, past the letterboxes through the collapsible gate and into the alley. Then they tossed out Burima. All were eager to begin their search for a real Darwan. From a pile of belongings, Purima kept only her broom. Believe me, she said once more as the figure began to recede. She shook the free end of her sari, but nothing rattled.